Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome back to the Melanated Muslimah podcast. It is me, your favorite Grenadian American and your favorite revert, Brittany Khadija. And if you're wondering how come I'm introducing myself like that, it's because since my last podcast episode, I have evolved in a sense. I have become more clearer. Well, that's not the right word. I have a clearer vision of what type of Muslim woman I want to be and how I want to carry myself and what I want to do and so forth. And I updated my name to Brittany Khadija in all my social media networks that I have a link to this podcast and so forth, because that is what I want to be known as, Brittany Khadija. I don't know if I will officially change like my name to Khadija, because Khadija is a name that I loved, and after learning about the Prophet Muhammad alayhi wasallam's wife, Khadija, she inspired me, and that is what became behind the name. So I kind of combined my first name and Khadija, so there's Brittany Khadija, and I just feel like that fits me and who I am, because I'm still Brittany, but a part of me is Khadija, if that makes sense. And I will be having a whole podcast episode, inshallah, dedicated to why I picked Khadija. For those who don't know who Khadija is, why her story, what inspired me from her story, and all of that, because that is what I'm now want to be called. I will answer to Brittany. I don't think I'll answer to Khadija, but I will answer to Brittany Khadija. So yeah, that is what's been a new thing that's been happening. So on this episode, I'm giving some life updates. I don't think I even mentioned that, but I'm mentioning that now. That was just something that was just strong on my mind. And with that, you may notice that the podcast image has changed. It has changed to reflect the new person that I am. I feel like I have evolved so much, but before I get into the evolving and what's in that part, I want to talk about some other things. So what's been going on with me is that I have been doing way too much. When I tell you I feel burnt out, I feel burnt out. And I felt that way, I think, maybe back in September when I worked 2 jobs and like I left one job. I think it was August when I left the other job. I was working my full-time job plus working part-time at Old Navy. And right now I'm doing a lot that I like put on my plate, and I put it all on myself. But even though I'm doing a lot, I feel like satisfied with what I'm doing in a way, but I know I have to cut back and make sure that I am taking time for me and taking time for me to grow, because by me doing a lot and plus helping other people, I neglected myself. And that's something that I've always struggled with, was neglecting myself, because I am trying to put energy into other people, making sure other people are okay, but I need to make sure that I'm okay and making sure that I'm reaching my goals and so forth. I can't be lifting everybody up when I'm struggling with my own foundation. Another thing is that I actually been writing a lot more poetry, which is so strange because back in undergrad, I was in poetry club. I used to say poetry at different events and so forth. And it feels like when I had like a shift in me mentally, poetry left. And it's funny because like now that I've come back to a place of peace, kind of like where I was in undergrad, but in a different type of setting. I don't know how to really describe it. I'm back at peace, but like at a different type of peace. In undergrad, I was like more free and more like not scared to write how I feel. And I feel like in the process of me going through what I was going through, I didn't want to talk about it. It was like something that I just wanted to hold deep into myself, and I didn't write it out in poems. And if I did, I would start one and then not finish it because I was scared to finish it, because it's almost like admitting what was going on with me. But subhanAllah, poetry has entered back into my life. I've been writing poems again. It feels like I'm like a whole different person when it comes to writing them. A lot of them has to do, is surrounded with religion, which I never thought I would even do. Because I was a girl who didn't used to pray, who didn't know how to pray, how to even connect with God, to now praying 5 times a day, plus doing dua, plus doing sunnah prayers and all that stuff, to now writing poetry about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and different things that surround Islam. It's like so crazy, but like that is where my poetry is now centered. And inshallah, if I like them, I will share them. Like, I am a person who literally hates majority of the poems I put out. The ones that I like, is not that good in retrospect, and the ones that I really dislike are better. So I have no idea what's going on with that. But that's like a little update. Now, going back to me growing as a Muslim. So over the last few months, I realized what type of Muslim woman I want to be. I felt like each time, I think I've probably have talked about this in the podcast before. And I feel like the Muslim woman I wanted then is different from the Muslim woman I want now. And I like have this clear vision of who Brittany Khadija is, who Brittany Khadija should be, how Brittany Khadija should carry herself, right? And I would say I'm about 60% there. And like, inshallah, I will get there by the time frame I have in my mind. And I'm working towards doing that. And you will see those changes in me, I think, happen. There's some changes that are happening now. And slowly some of my close friends are starting to notice it. But that is what's been going on. And with that being said, by me realizing what type of Muslim woman I want to be, I know what type of Muslim man I want. Now, I know that's a bit scary to say because, thinking about like marriage and stuff, it's like a taboo topic. But by the type of woman I want to be, there needs to be a type of man that comes with that. And I feel like I know what that is and I know what I want, compared to when I just became Muslim and I thought this is what I would like. My like ideal Muslim man is completely different. And maybe one day I'll talk about that. I'm not too sure, but it's so funny that like how much that has changed, obviously with growth, obviously with me learning more about Islam and growing as a Muslim, that has changed. But I just want to let you know that that's like another update. And I am working to I have certain goals I have set for myself that I want to finish and want to do to make me grow in Islam. And I feel like by doing those goals that I have, it will help me grow into the Muslim woman I want to be. So those are the things that I am trying to do to get to that person, working on stuff for myself. Like, this is like extremely personal, but I think this can help people. I was in therapy for a long time. And I kind of graduated from therapy. Let's say that I graduated. But when I was in therapy, I was hiding a problem that I had within myself because I was still too scared to talk about it. And I told myself, if I want to get into the place that I want to be as a person, if I want to get married, I want to have kids, I need to like uncover that part that has so bothered me. So I rejoin therapy with a different therapist, with a therapist from my culture, and start talking about that issue. And like, subhanAllah, through talking about that, I have learned so much about myself. And I haven't even been in like with this therapist for a year now. And I feel like by me having that therapist, I had a more clear vision of what type of Muslim I want to be. And I feel like that's all like connected, as well as having good Muslim support around me. Like, subhanAllah to the people that I have around me, that call me, that check up on me, that hug me with so much love when they see me in the masjid, who go out their way to ask me how I'm doing and so forth. Like, I don't take none of that for granted because there's so many reverts who don't have that. And for me to have that is extremely special to me because I know so many people don't have good support systems, even if they're not a revert. And just to have so many people in my community show me so much love, it really shows me the beauty of Islam. And it really shows me that like me just being myself is okay. Because for the longest time, I thought being myself was not okay. And to have a community welcome me while me being 100% authentically myself is like something so beautiful, because I never thought that who I was okay. So that was me trying not to cry in that part. And another thing is that I see year 3, like me, when I like this year is going to make 2 years since I became Muslim. And I feel like once I hit my 3rd year of Islam, I will have more clarity on certain things after I researched and learned about them. And I don't want to say them now. I want to speak about them kind of in year 3 of what I was what I've been working on. I'm getting so tongue tied. I want to talk about that then. So be on the lookout for that, inshallah. Another update that I have is Arabic class. So I think I've talked about how I was in Arabic class. I officially joined in August of 2023. I was like in and out of Arabic class, like in the beginning of 2023. I was still learning the letters and I had no idea what was going on. And I was in there while people were reading. So I have seen such advances in my Arabic. One, for me not barely knowing the alphabet, to knowing majority of the alphabet, because there's some letters I still get mixed up with. And for me to be able to like pick up the Quran and read it, even though I'm like somewhat struggling and there's some letters that I need help with pronouncing, the fact that I'm doing that, subhanallah, like alhamdulillah, all of this happened through the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also through my dedication. And I'm so proud of myself. And one thing that I needed recently was that there was a lot going on with me in my life, and it like kind of I kind of neglected reading every week, because part of our assignment in class is to read 10 verses a day plus write out the 10 verses by the next class. And I was neglecting that because of what was going on, and I should have like spoke to the teacher about what was going on, but I didn't, because I thought that I was like still can manage doing all this in my delusional mind, but I honestly couldn't handle all of it. And I need to hold myself accountable. So I noticed that like my reading like took a step back because I wasn't practicing. And I noticed it because I was in class and I went from reading like somewhat at a good speed to then going slow and like second guessing myself and doubting myself. And I went up to the teacher and I already knew what he was going to say. I'm like, what areas do you think I need to improve on? He was like, a reading every day, because I can tell. And I'm like, oh, shots fired. He's telling me about myself, but I already knew that that's what he was going to say, but I needed to hear it to hold myself accountable and for me to do better. And if we're being quite honest, that was last week. And the fact, and like when I tell you I've been practicing, when I've been reading, I've been listening, I've been struggling to like get back to a good point. And like I've even noticed a difference from me, like having a more of a positive mindset, me being more confident in reading, really practicing, really trying to get the hang of it, really trying to like not be scared of ayin, because that letter, ayin and guayin, and dal, the one with the dal with the dot, and ta, the one that looks like a B, those letters are like my enemies, but those are what I've been struggling on. So I'm happy that I'm seeing that goal, is because with that and with me getting better at pronunciation, I want to work on memorizing verses of the Quran, and I want to make sure I memorize them in the correct way, because even when we say Surah Al-Fatiha like in class, he calls out people for saying it incorrectly, because we just know it like phonetically, but we're not really studying like studying the way it's like studying it the way that it's written out. And it shows, because when we read it, it's not like how we're saying it in our prayers. So I want to make sure that when I get to memorize these verses of the Quran, I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing them correctly. And I feel like I have reached the stage where I am ready to memorize them, even though there may be some letters that are like more that I struggle with more than others, but I think I have the basis down to memorize them. So I want to like work on that and work on getting that together. And in terms of life as a revert, when I just became Muslim, I felt so new. I felt like I knew a lot coming in, but then I realized I didn't know nothing. Like everything that you learned beforehand is not going to prepare you for when you actually dive in and you actually start learning. So I would feel like I don't feel as new as I did like a year ago, because it was like my first Ramadan, my first Eid al-Hadha, all those things. And this year was my second Ramadan. This will be my second Eid al-Hadha. And I feel like, wow, like I already did this. And I kind of know like what to expect. So I don't feel as new. I do feel like some people still view me as a new Muslim, which is not technically not wrong, because I've only been Muslim for like almost 2 years. So I feel like that's okay for people to view me as that. But ironically, there's a few people that came up to me, and then when I had like told them I was a revert, they was like, "Oh, like I thought you were a born Muslim by the way that you carry yourself." And I was like, "What? Like that is such an amazing compliment." But I'm like new. But I think it's a compliment for me because it shows that like I don't seem like lost in a way, even though like it's nothing wrong with being lost. But it just shows that like I am viewed as a regular Muslim sister rather than a new Muslim sister, if that makes sense. And in terms with friendships, like I said, I do have a good amount of people in the community that reach out to me, ask me how I'm doing. But I would say that I don't have as many people around me as like someone who's born into the community, which makes sense. I'm still new. I only been there for 2 years, and building friendship, especially when you're older, especially when you're new to a community, takes a while, right? And especially because like just now I'm feeling more comfortable, just now I'm learning more, I can understand more. I feel like it's easier for me to like go into Muslim spaces that have like born Muslims, because then I can understand certain aspects more than when I was a new Muslim, if that makes sense. But I am getting myself out there more and like putting myself out there a little bit more than before to like talk to people and so forth and have like more connections. I'm not saying I need to be best friends with everyone, because that's not realistic. I'm just saying to have like people who are like, "Hi, how are you doing?" with people that you go out for coffee with, people that you can do stuff with. And then like of course have some close people in the community who become close to me. I do have that already, but also like branching out from those people in a way, because those people are my comfort zone, but then it's like having me neglect other people that I could be meeting, if that makes sense. In terms of my old friends, all of my old friends I still talk to them. They are very supportive with me and everything, and it's so good to like for me to have like such an amazing support system who's not Muslim, that tries to learn, that asks questions that they think is stupid, but it's not, because they're learning and so forth. And they're actually asking questions in a like curious manner, not in a rude manner. So I think that has been the same, and just my friends show me love and all that. And another thing, like I said, my second anniversary of becoming Muslim is coming up. And I think it's so crazy to think that this will be 2 years. I feel like just yesterday I walked into the mosque for the first time, like just going for questions and just coming and like leaving, doing my shahada unexpectedly. And it's all because of they said that like be careful what you say, because words have power. And literally a couple of days or maybe even a day before, I was like, if I could do my shahada tomorrow, I would. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heard that and was like, "Oh, you say you want to do your shahada, if you wanted, you will do your shahada tomorrow. All right, when you go into the masjid, my dear sister Brittany, you're gonna come out a Muslim." So I just like still remember the nervousness, me not having a hijab pin, me trying to figure out like how do Muslim women keep the hijab on their head, knowing that like I've seen the Muslim content creators put pins in their hair. I mean, in their hijab, but me not realizing that I needed one, which was kind of funny. But like, how do they keep this on their head? Like me not knowing what to wear, because I didn't have like extremely modest clothing that would be like that and stuff. Oh, That was so weird. So like my computer just like fell asleep in the middle of me recording, and I thought I just lost everything. I was about to cry. But I think where it's left off about like me going into the mosque for the first time and having one of the sisters in my doing my during my shahada and seeing her all the time. It's like every time I see her I just remember that she was like a part of my shahada. She was there to witness it. um I still can't believe it still can't believe it has been 2 years. And I think about like how much has happened in the 2 years of me becoming Muslim, and how I was in the beginning versus now. And also with that being said, being that it's like been 2 years, um, being that I don't really have that much questions anymore, and a lot of it is stuff for me to learn on my own at this point. Like I don't see my mentor as much. And it's so weird because I love her so much and I don't see her as often. It's funny, like we were like seeing each other every week in the beginning. Now we see each other like every month or so, or a little like every 2 months. And it's so weird. And it's funny because she told me, she's like, "You're like my little baby. You're like one of those birds that leave the nest, and like I'm literally flying with like my new baby wings." And yeah, so that's like kind of crazy for me, like going from like that, asking questions, realizing that some stuff that I didn't know before, and that I learned about Islam, learned about like you can't wear nail polish, and me being shocked that you can't wear nail polish because you're unable to do wudu with it, and like those type of things. So like to think about how new I was, and how like I didn't know a lot, even though I thought I did, and how I learned more. So from being like that to now is such an interesting concept, because I look back at myself. I look back at like what I thought Islam was. Not really what I thought Islam was, like how I practiced back then versus like how I practice now. Is so interesting to like reflect on. And I can't wait to share the lessons that I have learned in these almost 2 years that I've been Muslim, because I think that'll be such an amazing podcast for me to do. And another thing that I have an update on is that I have a special project that should be coming out in the next couple of months, inshallah, that has to do with my Islamic journey. I don't want to give out too many details. I want to keep y'all in suspense, so keep on the lookout for that. You can follow me on my social media, on my Instagram, Brittany Khadija, to learn more. And I also have a YouTube channel by the same name where you can also learn more there, and that's also called Brittany Khadija. And I will not be changing the name of this podcast, because this podcast represents me, the melanated Muslimah. And this is where I talk about my journey while being melanated, while being a Muslim. So keep on the lookout for that special project, and I will definitely drop more information on this podcast so you guys can stay updated with what's going on with me. And thank you so much for listening. I hope to be more consistent. I feel like I'm in a better space. I don't know if you can tell based on like where I was in my last podcast episode, but I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you in the next one, even though I can't technically see you, or you will hear me in the next episode. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.